evidence. But this chair really proves that Africans created yoga.
Indeed. So the chair, probably I'm gonna do the best to give like a very detailed description of it. The chair was found in the tomb of King Tut, and the chair in the back of the chair it shows a deity who goes by either Shu or He. He and Shu both are connected to the breath, and both are connected to the energy of infinity it's in eternity, meaning it's ongoing, it's everlasting. And that deity, those two deities, the reason why they were on the back of the chair because it's a representation of the spirit of the king living on forever beyond the physical. So what you see on the chair, the symbol itself on the back of the chair, on the chair itself, it shows a man with his arms out like so, and what he's carrying in his hand, what he's holding in his hand is like a palm, a stem, and it has these ridges on it. And these ridges on the stem shows you the time of the year. And then when it gets to the top, it circles around, but the circle doesn't end. So it means that time of living continues on. So that's just showing what he's carrying in his hands. And then what's resting on his forearm is the Ankh, which a lot of us know is the symbol of life. So it's showing you that life energy, the life force energy of the breath, is with us and is with us beyond the physical. And again, it's everlasting. Now, on the top of the deity's head is a sun disk, and the sun disk is a representation of the crown chakra. And on two sides, you see is the serpent, the Wajet, and that's dealing with the Wajet is dealing with consciousness, is also dealing with protection, and also I believe is dealing also the left and right hemisphere of the brain. All right, or dealing with the divine masculine and the divine feminine energy, and what the Godhead is also kneeling on is a symbol called Nebu. Nebu is the symbol for gold, and gold is connected to divine power. Now, at the bottom of like this table, there's these little like spikes that are coming out of the bottom of the table, and it's mostly shown with seven ridges, and seven is a very divine number in almost all ancient practice, but definitely in the ancient Kemetic practice. So so gold is dealing with divinity, which is also connected to seven, which is another number connected to that divine power. So that whole picture from a yoga perspective is the connection of self, right? From the Sanskrit word yoga means to connect to yo. So what the symbol that was with the hieroglyph or the chair, what it's showing is that connection to our divine self from the root where he's kneeling on all the way to the crown. It's showing you chakra energy and how that energy is constantly going with the stems that he's holding in. So yeah, that's one of many symbols in ancient Egypt that gives you perspective on yoga. Because it's important that if you're a yogi and you want to understand Kemetic yoga, you have to understand the yoga practice itself. If you only understand it from a physical perspective, then you have a very small understanding of the yoga practice. Because if you're studying the Indian lineage of it, you understand there are eight limbs that make up the yoga practice. So or if you only study asanas or maybe meditation, there's a whole body of work that you're missing out. So it's the same thing when it comes to the Kemetic yoga practice. You have to not just see what the position that the deities are doing, you have to understand what is the meaning, right? When you see Ma'at and her arms are out, right? The reason why there's the alignment, her front arm is in alignment with the back. It's the balancing of energies, the balancing of the deeper, the divine parts of ourselves, the divine feminine, divine masculine. Uh, and it's her balancing that energy. And when you see her spine is straight, it's that energy that is stabilizing those energies. It's that self. And then you have the jet pillar, which is the symbol of the spine or a SAR spine. And we all know in the yoga practice, spine is a very is very vital in terms of the energy channel or what they call the chakras to work efficiently. And you know, a SAR is a deity that represents resurrection. All right, you know, so that spine being aligned is the energy resurrecting all the way to the crowning, and it's a cycle. It's ongoing. So, so that chair, of course, is a very important symbol. But there's so many other symbols in the ancient Egyptian, in the Kemetic practice and Kemetic legacies that gives you deeper in various parts of the yoga practice. And understand too, yoga is a lifestyle. It's not it's a practice of self. It's a practice of living. It's a practice of how you think, how you eat, how you sleep, how you interact with people. So there's so many ways to practice yoga. And when you understand Kemetic legacy and you understand of walking in art, you understand you have a deeper understanding of the yoga practice in itself.
You give the best explanations. So thorough and complete. You know what I'm saying? And I like the mellow energy. And some of the things that you said, I say when I'm leading, we have slightly different energies. And so it's
Yeah.
good to hear someone else say it from, like, a different perspective. I want to go back to when you said that you were in Jamaica for 10 days. People probably thought y'all were chilling.
Hmm.
But I was certified with you here too. So I believe you when you say it was intense. And from sun
Hmm.
up to sundown with you seeing, making sure that you can hit that, because he's passed his legacy on to us, so that when we teach it to others, we're going to give it to them like it was given to us. So yes, I mean, yes, being in Jamaica is dope, and I want to go to one of those myself. But
Hmm.
understand that in having Kemetic, with Kemetic yoga, it's not just the asanas. It is not just the breath. It's not just being looking perfect in these postures that we see on TV. It is a part of our legacy. It is a part of the legacy that African people have left for the planet, period. Just like we know that
Hmm.
the science is something, or maybe you don't know. If you don't know, listen up.
Hmm.
Science was given to us from our African ancestors. And when I say us, I mean the world. Math. We have all of these geometric, monuments that no one can reproduce to prove that we did math. We left astronomy, health, medicine, you name it. And Stephen, just like you said before, when you were contemplating, Africans did just about everything. I'm sure they did yoga first. That's like literally what I was thinking when I Googled African yoga. I was like, I Googled African yoga. I got some things. I clicked on a couple websites. Boom. I click on yogaskills.com. I was like, this is it right here. This is the one right here. That's exactly what I did. And then I just like went through his whole page and this, that, and the third. And I was thinking about going to the trip to the training in Jamaica, right? I was like, I don't know who this dude is. Who is this here? So I called up. So I texted Anika and Jabari. Either texted them or called. I was like, do you know someone named Your Sir? So Jabari, being Jabari, didn't correct me. So Anika just laughed at me. She was like, girl, you saying his name funny. That's not how you say it. I was like, so basically, I was like, do you know who he is? And she was like, yes, he's, in the legacy. He teaches Kemetic yoga. And basically, she just explained to him who we all know that he is. And so,
Hmm.
just coming across that particular training and with Yasir, it's like stepping into something that came all the way from Tutankhamen right in our laps, like
Hmm.
literally, like it, like just like if I could have some dramatic music, like dun dun dun, boom, then that's kind of how that feels when you know that you are one of the people that is carrying this legacy on. The other thing I wanted to mention
Hmm.
is the way Kemetic yoga makes you feel. So I have a Hatha yoga teacher certification that I got in 2016, and my father passed in 2016. And I was very grateful for that
Hmm.
experience because I had 6 months of healing with a group of women, and you're doing the breathing, and we checked in with each other, and we did a whole lot of crying, which was good because it was purging and stuff like that, right? But when I did the
Hmm.
Kemetic yoga, and I've been doing yoga since 2003, I've been doing Bikram yoga since '05. And so I had a good like 15 years of yoga before I was certified in 2018 with Yasir. And I can tell
Hmm.
you that the spiritual connection that you feel and that ancestral connection, when you mention that, I know how you feel. That is built into the Kemetic
Yeah.
yoga method and the Kemetic yoga way. And it
Hmm.
spiritually feels different than Indian yoga and other yoga that we see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Experiencing something like Kemetic yoga, being being an African in the diaspora, just intuitively and spiritually makes you want to connect in other ways.
Yeah.
Did you feel
Yeah.
like that kind of also made you want to? Did you feel more connected in such a way that you wanted to dive even deeper and learn even more and be more connected?
Oh, of course. Especially after my trip to Kemet, you know, when I went to Kemet when I went to Egypt with Yasir, the same year actually I got certified. Because I was like, all right, I gotta go to Kemet. I gotta go to Egypt to see this for myself. I gotta see all this on the walls because he describes, all the sequences that he does. He describes based on what he's seen on the Nectar. So it was a no-brainer for me to go. And but initially I was gonna go to Ethiopia with him. I was like, oh, okay, I'll do Egypt another year. So I had signed up to go to Ethiopia with him, but then there was a lot of political stuff and protests happening in Ethiopia. So what happened was that the group that was supposed to go to Ethiopia, Yashir was like, you know what? Let's go to Kemet. And he at the time he only did it once a year, but this was his first time doing it a second time. And when we was like go to Kemet, I was like, are you guys do you guys want to go to Egypt? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to go.
Right.
So
Of course.
he just changed our registration and our tickets to Kemet and 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 I remember I think it was like the end of November of 2016. We went on this long ass flight. Well, for me it was long. It was like 13 hours, and we got there, and I remember we landed. We got out the airport. I remember our tour guide. He said, and he was an Arab brother, but he was like kind of trained by Yasir, and I think Jabari. I think helped him understand things from a Kemetic perspective, because a lot of those Egyptologists they learn from like the Greek and Greco-Roman perspective of Kemet. So it was like they never really understood from a African perspective. And I remember we got off the plane and we went to go to the bus to take us to our hotel. And the tour guide said, "Welcome to Kemet." And I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Oh, oop, I didn't mean to curse." I was like, "Oh snap! This is gonna be dope." And I remember we were
Right, right,
driving on the highway, and I remember from the far distance we see the pyramids. I was like, "Oh my god, they're even amazing! They're huge. They're even more
right.
amazing in person." And I remember we got to the hotel and it was right in front of the Great Pyramids. And it was this the monument is just so powerful, and it's like it's just something you never I never seen before. And and then going to the tours, and we're going to various pyramids, and we're going to various temples as we travel further down Egypt. And when you go into these temples, and when you go into the Merkus, when you go into the pyramids, it's like, and when you're connected to the Kemetic legacy and the Kemetic yoga practice, and bringing those two together, and you carry that with you into the pyramids, into the temples, you automatically start downloading information, and it's just coming at you one by one, and you're just like receiving all this divine and ancestral energy. And everybody who on that trip had a very powerful moment, very like awakening moment. Some folks had it in temples, and some folks had it just being by the pyramids. I had a strong nostalgic and awakening moment on the Hapi, on the Nile River, and we were sailing on the Nile River, and we are going into Aswan, where all the Africans are at, because most of the Arabs are like further north, but all that Africans, the Nubian people are all in Aswan. And Aswan is beautiful because all these dark melanated people are there, and it's folks that look like look like me, look like auntie, your uncles. There's brothers there with locks. There's brothers there with S curls, all types of stuff. There's brothers that look like George Jefferson. Like it's like it was so crazy. Because you go to Cairo, Cairo it's like, okay, I'm in the Middle East, but then you go to Aswan, and you go further down towards the Nubians, it's like, okay, I'm in Africa. This is Africa. Like this is, I'm on the continent here. And I remember we will sail on the Nile going to a Nubian village, and this Nubian tour guide said, if you drink from the Nile, your spirit will always be here. Your energy will always be here. You're guaranteed to come back. And being from like the city, like, man, I ain't drinking over the river water. It's like that's crazy. I ain't Poland Spring, like I ain't drinking that. But um, I had an empty bottle of water, and Yashir he was like, "Don't be a punk, do it." And I was like, so I took the empty bottle of water and I dipped it into the Nile River, and I looked at it. I looked at Yashir. I was like, "You drink it." And he took it and just threw the whole thing back. He was like, "See, I stopped being a punk and just drink it." So I went back, dipped it in there. I was like, first of all, Yasir has been here a million times. So whatever thing is in this system, I was like, Steven, stop it. And I drank the water, and it was just like a very powerful moment to um connect on a deeper level to this very sacred river. This river that has literally fed the entire globe. Where like human civilization, one of the first places where human civilization started at. So and but I remember being on the river, and I had a nostalgic moment after I had drank the water that I've sailed this river before. I've I don't know if I was a fisherman, or I was doing trade routes, or I was a magi on doing some kind of mission, but it was felt very nostalgic while sailing on that river. Um and I remember we just seen the ibis bird everywhere. We've seen tahuti everywhere on the rock, flying around. It was just so such a beautiful and just powerful trip. And definitely need to do it again. Definitely need to do it again. And that just made me want to study more and more. Like all the postures, everything we're seeing on the hieroglyph it just made me wanted to dive deeper and study more, more, and more, you know. And it's just been ongoing, and I'm still learning still to this day. You know, that's when you said, you know, big dog and comedic yoga. I'm like, nah, I'm still a puppy. I'm still, you know, I might seem like I have a big bark like your dog, you know. I was like, no, I'm still a little puppy. I still got some growing to do, you know, and it's important that we value being that student first before we be so quick to take on the role of being a guru or a master teacher. And I got that from Yashir. And what made me connect with him so much was how humble he is. You know, this man's been practicing yoga, Kemetic yoga, since what, the 70s, and he still is learning. He still is receiving, and you know, I don't think he ever refers to himself as a master teacher. You know, I know for a while he like, don't call me Baba. He's like, don't call me Baba. He's like, I ain't old. He's like, I'm still young. You know, I'm still good. But now he's accepted it. But I never heard him refer to himself as a master teacher, and ain't nothing wrong with calling him a master because I see him as someone who has mastered this craft and as a teacher. Um, but I also see that he's a teacher who's also reminding us to be students as well and continue to learn, continue to receive, you know, continue to connect. So, you know, I'm still learning. I'm still puppy out here, you know, but I'm gonna get to that pool level soon, you know, little by little, I'm building up. So,
I could definitely relate to what you're saying. Like the first time I touched down in Africa, the thing that struck me was the smell of the air.
hmm
It was like I definitely knew that smell from somewhere, and it
hmm
was like you said, it was nostalgic, and it was just a sweet
hmm
aroma of the air there. It's totally different,
hmm
and something about a smell that can bring back memories. It can bring back
hmm
things that have happened in the past, and that's what I took from it immediately. As soon as you get off the plane, it was like, okay, the air is totally different here. The scent here, this
hmm
aroma is charging. It's doing something to my soul, like immediately.
Yeah.
So and then when you actually take your shoes off and put your feet on the soil, it's like a direct connection. It's like
hmm
taking the circuit and now completing the circuit, of an electrical flow, of electrical current, that brings back memories. So I could definitely relate to what you're saying. It just made me smile just hearing you talk about it because it's like I'm not the only one here. I'm not just bugging out and going. You know how sometimes when
hmm
you believe in something so much, you experience things that nobody else did. But to hear you say it, it's like a confirmation. It's like, nah, I definitely what I was feeling was what I was feeling. You know what I'm saying? As soon as I
hmm
got there, like that's just amazing to hear you talk about it. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks, thanks. Yeah, it's something that every black folks, especially of the diaspora, they have to experience that. Particularly Kemet. You know, there's nothing wrong with going to Ghana and Senegal to see the dungeons and because that happened. You know, and that has in some way strengthened us because we have to be strong in the now for our ancestors um, who went through that. But going to Kemet, it also is a reminder of that. Wait, we've always great. We were always amazing. We were always divine.
That's
So
right. Facts.
it's important that folks see the greatness of Africa,
Right.
Kemet, Timbuktu, going to the spiritual cities and villages in Africa, connecting with the Yoruba people, connecting with Igbo people, seeing that perspective of Africa, going to Sudan and seeing, the Kush pyramids over there. It's important that we see that and we connect to it and not just see that we were in shackles and we were, we were kidnapped and taken away. It's like, no, there's so much more to us than that. And that's what that Kemetic legacy and Kemetic yoga is continuing to do for me, is to remind me how divine and how divine I am and what that divinity, that lineage that I'm coming from, I'm walking in that path. And especially it's coming is very present today in this time of in these times that people are saying uncertain times and and just unfortunate times and feels like this is now the time you either you start to own up to your divine self, you own up to your truth, your power. You know what I'm saying? And I was saying this in a meditation. What we're seeing now has been told in the Meta Nature with
Hear me.
Horus versus Set.
Say it again.
Set is the with Haru versus Set. Set is the chaos. Set is the uncertainty. Set is fear. Set is the plague. Right? And right now Set is in that position of rulership, but as the people of Haru, from that Haru lineage, from that Asara lineage, we have to rise up, right? We have to embrace that Tahuti energy, because Haru was able to defeat Set after he gained that knowledge from Haru. So when we go back to our ancestors, which is that Tahuti energy, and we gain that wisdom, when we sit at the feet of our great teachers that are still living today and those who have passed, they're giving back that wisdom, and it's interesting, you have, your name is Sashat, also the divine feminine perspective of wisdom, of power, and that scribe energy, receiving and getting all that information. We use that and we embody that Haru energy. We embody that Haru, that wisdom, and we overcome this chaos. We overcome this uncertainty. You know, so we can't let this thing that's happening right now stop us from not continuing to being our true selves. Of course, they're gonna try to box us in. They're gonna try to label us. They're gonna try to do all this, but it's like if you know your truth, you know your power, all that stuff ain't gonna phase you. All that, that fear that they're trying to phase you. When they see you strong, then they're like, okay, all right, I see you. We're like, yeah, what's up? Like,
Yes.
so we got to continue flexing on them through this Kemetic legacy. We got to continue flexing on them through the African spirituality, that indigenous spirituality, coming back to ourselves. 2020 is to have a clear vision and clear perspective of where we need to be within ourselves, where we need to be in this realm, where we need to be from a spiritual perspective. You know what I'm saying? So it's just it's a matter of us being present and not giving in to what Babylon is trying to feed us.
Babylon. Babylon. So let me ask
Yeah.
you. Oh, go ahead, Jamar. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So to get the most out of your yoga experience, what are some tips
Hmm.
that you would give, to people just starting out, like if they want to start preparing and getting into it? Like, is there a diet regimen that you should stick to? You know, times that you should wake up. When should you do it? Like, what are the best tips that you can give?
Well, if you are drawn to get into that yoga practice, the first thing to do is get on the mat. There's you don't necessarily need to get on a diet. It's whenever your energy. If you feel like you need to do it 5 a.m. in the morning or 5 p.m. in the afternoon, it's all a matter of just bringing yourself to the mat, bringing yourself to that space, and understand this mat, that space you're on, is a safe space. So regardless of where you at physically, regardless of your experience, you're in this safe space to be full, to gain and or to reconnect to this very powerful self. So the advice is just to make time, and it doesn't have to be an hour, it doesn't have to be 2 hours, it could be 20, it could be 30 minutes, it could be 10 minutes. Um, I mean, I love the videos that Sashat puts out of the various postures, and a lot of them are very simple but very useful, to do. So it's just a matter of doing things. And then I love that she does like various postures. It's like weekly, right, or each day, and just starting like that can help start your practice. And from there, you want to go into a flow. So you do a virtual class, or you find a video on YouTube, or and it just starts from there. But it's all a matter of making time for yourself, right? You're doing this for you. You're not doing this so you can look a certain way. You're not doing this so you could get some likes on Instagram while you're standing on your head or whatever. You're doing this for you. You're doing this for your health. You're doing this for your mind. You're doing this for your spirit. You're doing this just to ground yourself, to ground yourself more in practice. So, um, yeah, just pull out the mat or a rug, find an open space, and just get the body moving. And if the movement is intimidating, start with the breath. Get into your meditation practice. Reconnect to the breath. Um, Take a time. Everybody's doing the virtual work, so it's very easy for us to just, go, 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 go. And it's like, you know what? We push this laptop to the side and we put on my favorite music and we put on the music that relaxes me, that soothes me. And then we just take time to just breathe and listen to the breath. And this is going back to the deity of Shu and back to the deity of head. And that breath is everlasting because that first moment, that first time when you really listen to your breath, that energy sits with you for a long period of time. And you're like, okay, I need to keep getting more connected to the breath. And then through the breath, you can now transition that breathing into movement, and the body and the breath now connects, and that fluidity and your motion and everything just becomes one, becomes connected. So that's another long-winded answer.
Do you personally prefer to do it like in nature or indoors?
I do whenever spirit tells me to do
Right.
it. That's even though are important. I know routinely the first thing I do in the morning is take very slow breaths and just really connect to myself. Take my time in getting up. So if I have a client or if I have to teach a class, I always make sure I give myself like an hour, 2 hours to just breathe. So that's always the first thing to do. In terms of movements, I usually like to do it around noon when Ra is at its peak. Um, because that's when I really feel that energy from a cosmic level, from and then an environment. So and it's either could be home or out in nature. And in nature it could be something as simple as sitting in such pose. And such pose is just such pose two, right? And for those who don't know, sesh pose two, sesh means scribe, and the pose is you're just sitting on your heels with your toes curled, and you're just connecting to the reflexology points in your soles of your feet. And those reflexology points are connected to various parts of your bodies. So just sitting in that on grass, no mat, knee all in the grass, knee all on the roots in the dirt, and just breathing and just connecting to that, which I like to do personally. And then maybe going into a pyramid pose, or some people call it downward facing dog, doing that, and just to, breathe, connect to my body and open up. So, but in terms of where I prefer to do it, I just do it. Or when is really based on like my energy and based on like what is spirit telling me. Spirit telling me to move or just be still, you know. That's really what it is. So I don't force anything because you force and you start to resent the practice in some ways. You're like, gosh, I don't want to do this shit, or so you just let it just come natural to you as you start to get into that routine, as you start to get familiar with the practice. You just get into it organically.
So I just want to add to what Stephen said, or pull a few things out. So one of the differences between Kemetic yoga and meditation, and coming into this from an African perspective versus what we see on in, on the ads, what we see on TV, what we think yoga is first you're connecting to the breath. That's the very first thing that you're going to do, is connect to the breath. You're not connecting to a certain look or going into something like a posture of the full expression of the posture. You're not putting your legs straight up in the air or behind your head. You're sitting still and you're breathing. And the second thing is you're not forcing anything. Forcing, Stephen said you can do 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. You start where you are until you're really able to make that connection. And then you're able to ease into making this a part of your life, you know? So that's one of the components that's different, is that you are connecting back to yourself as opposed to looking a certain way or performing. You're not performing. This is for you in internally, literally, physically, breath wise, and spiritually. Okay. And so, from all the years of yoga that I had done, and I like other forms of yoga, and you are able to breathe. So, but in Kemetic yoga, you're connecting to the breath. You're making a connection to it, which enables you to feel that energy. That's some of the things I say with meditation, with my 30-minute meditations. You're connecting to the breath. So once you do that, it's almost like you open the door and you just crack it open, and then boom, like everything just opens, and there's this wonderful world behind that door that you didn't know was going to be there from that little teeny tiny crack that you opened. And like Stephen was saying, it also brings you back into the Kemetic legacy, kind of from that angle. I paraphrase a little bit. He didn't say that exactly, but he was getting to that particular point. I also do want to add, once you see how connecting to the breath benefits you, then you're going to want to make this consistent. You're going to want to eat better. You're going to want to eat more plant-based and drink more water. And once the breathing becomes something that's a part of what you do, certain things don't bother you anymore. Certain things just become, not even an issue. And you really do grow and progress from these kind of practices. Stephen, I want to ask you this question. As a Black man living in these times, so as Black women, we have our set of conditions, or these conditions affect us the way that they affect us as Black women. Considering, you're a Black man in these times, how have Kemetic meditation and Kemetic yoga and connecting to the breath helped you be able to stay centered and to stay non-reactive and to stay in your way of life?
The breath is a great way to just come to a place of stillness and just ground myself. Um, because all that is coming at you, especially as a black man in the West, in the Western world, it's these energies that's looking for you to react in a very chaotic and just very just unstable matter. So the breathing helps me center and really align my energy, align myself. And the breath also is a very important way for me to just communicate with myself, come back to um, that self that is at peace, that self that is love, that self that is joyful, that self that is happy, that self that is just one with myself on a physical and divine and spiritual level. So that's what the breathing does. Because I had the first time I understood, or one of the most important moments I understood how important my breathing was. I was on a walking trail in the woods, deep in like in the middle of nowhere in New Jersey, and I was with a group and we was on a walking trail, and we got to a certain point, and then I was like, all right, oh, I need to go back for something. And when I went back on that trail, I I took a wrong turn. So, and I didn't notice. I didn't know I took the wrong turn. So I kept going down this other path, and I realized, oh snap, I'm lost. Okay, I'm looking around, and if you've ever been deep in the woods, you look around, everything starts to look the same. And so I'm like, okay, now my breath is very short. I'm breathing really fast. So then I'm walking around. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go this way. And then I went over this way, and I saw this white man with a German Shepherd that wasn't on the leash, and he was at this cabin. And I was like, from a distance, I said, hey, sir, do you know where so and so cabin is? He was like, nope. And I was like, nah, don't like this energy. So I turned back around and I went back to right where I like realized I was lost. So the first thing I did was stop panicking. I paused and I just breathed. And the breath allowed me to just really scan my surroundings. And right behind me, which I didn't know at first, it was a hill. Something told me, go over this hill. And I went over this hill. And when I got to the bottom to the hill, I got right in the place where I left the group that I was walking with. So I was like, all right. So I got to restart. So I'm walking back down the path. Okay, I went left this time and go right. And as soon as I went right, I saw the group going back to the cabin. And all that was just a matter of me just breathing, calming my energy down, being able to scan my surroundings, being able to just really be connected to myself, feel my surroundings, and I was able to get to where I needed to be.
Breathing also enables you to feel that man's energy.
Hmm.
I ain't trying to be down there with homeboy and his German Shepherd. I'm good.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
mean this, and I don't mean this.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, no, we're not gonna have Get Out Part Two over here. I'm out.
Great.
Do you combine meditation into this, or would you consider it like one and the same? Like, how do you view meditation versus yoga?
Yoga, the true definition of yoga is everything. So yoga is meditation, yoga is movement. So the meditation. I mean, if you look back at the term asana actually doesn't mean movement. It means to sit still. It means to be in a comfortable place while breathing. So it doesn't mean movement. If you look up one of the older definitions of asana, so the breath, again, like I said, yoga is a lifestyle. It's everything you do, and one of those things is the breath. One of the things is breathing and connecting to your breath. And like when we look at the ankh, right? A lot of times when we see the ankh, um, you'll see the deities, the Netarus, giving the ankh to a Nusiti or a pharaoh or queen through the nostrils or through the mouth, which shows you that breath of life, that life force energy that you're receiving. And Shu is the wind, is that life force energy that is coming out, that is, and that is surrounding you. So those two are very much connected. Movements and the breath go hand in hand. So meditation, movements, because you could be in a meditative state while you're doing a flow, right? You could be in a meditative state while you're in these postures. You're just so just grounded and so connected to yourself, and you're just flowing, you know. And a lot of folks who, especially who've been practicing for a long time, any yoga practice, you get that high. You get this like natural high after your practice, and you just feel good, and you're just like whatever, like like I'm chilling. So it's a feeling you get from meditation, so you're in that meditative state when you're moving. It's the same when you're in your space, you're doing your craft, what you love to do. You're in this meditative state, you're focused, and you just have this strong awareness of yourself as you're doing this, right? And you notice, like, when you are doing something that you have a passion for, whether it's music, whether it's crafting, whatever, you notice your breathing change, right? Your breathing slows down and you're just in control. And it's almost like you're doing this in slow motion. But in other folks' eyes, you're doing it really fast. But in your eyes, it's like, oh, this is doing it. Well, folks say I could literally do this with my eyes closed because you're in that meditative state. You're just so connected and you're just so present with this thing or with this skill. So yeah, breathing, movement, meditation, one and the same.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
deep. That's hella powerful. It's a flow. And I can definitely relate to that. Like, like you said, when you're doing your music, you fall into this zone. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Where it's like nothing around you even exists. It's just like you and and the energies that compose you, like in the intricate
Hmm.
parts. Your consciousness of everything that's going on with inside of you. Um,
Hmm.
it's making me really interested in delving into the yoga practice. I've been talking about it for a long time. Like I said, we were talking earlier. I said, when I go into something, I like to get all the information about it before I go in. Because when I go in, I'm going hard. So hearing it from you
Yeah.
sounds like something that could be very, very edifying to the body and the
Hmm.
spirit as well, and just uniting the two, and really
Hmm.
enhancing your life experience. So
Indeed. And
sounds really.
also, it's important too for us brothers to practice the movements and all that because, we suffer a lot of the physical injuries, hip injuries, back injuries, shoulders injuries. So, because, as men, as we get older, right, the shoulder round and then our spine starts to curve and we have these hip issues because we've been walking on the side of our feet for so long. But in yoga, when you learn to ground, you learn to now feel that bottom ball of your feet and really feel the center of yourself. And your posture is better. Your just alignment with yourself is better. So you know the spiritual practice, this spiritual journey is, you have to understand this body is the temple, is the body securing the ka, right? So you want to make sure that ka is in a very secure place. So you have to make sure that you take care of this vessel. You have to take care of this body. So the ka now, when it finally moves on, it's like it had a wonderful physical experience. So now its next experience is going to be, just as great. So it's important that you understand this body, this vessel. You got to take care of it. What you put into it, how you treat it, how you move it, everything is so important.
So somebody asked a really important question. They said, "Can breath be used to heal the body or relieve pain?"
Oh yeah, oh yeah, because um, you can look into qigong, right? Qigong, and they use the qi energy to transmit energy throughout the body. So focusing your breath into an area can help relieve tension, right? So when we have like muscle pain or joint pain, a lot of times it's because we're carrying something in that area. We're carrying some kind of energy, some kind of emotion in that area, right? Um, so like say for example, if we have like hip pain, usually that's something to deal with our emotions. That's something dealing with like trauma. So when we open up in the hips, I don't know if you ever had this experience, Shashat, when you do hip openers, you almost want to like cry because you're like, "Oh, God damn, that I was holding a lot in there." Or, I've seen other people like shed a tear because they open up in the hips or in the lower back area. And it all starts with breathing into those areas because what again, when we talk about that onk, right? And they're giving the onk through the nose to now that you receive that onk energy through your breathing, you're transferring that energy to various parts of your body. So when we inhale and then we exhale, that energy travels to that area that you want to open up. So when we're doing like a forward bend, touching the toes while we're standing up, you know, we always instruct folks to breathe in and breathe out. And I tell folks, breathe into your hamstring, breathe into your lower back. And when you visualize your breath literally going into your hamstring, on a physiological level, the oxygen that you're pulling in, it oxygenates the muscle fibers. So that once the muscle fibers receive that oxygen, now it has more efficient blood flow, because in order for blood to flow efficiently, it needs oxygen. So now the muscle fibers go from this and they start to open up and they lengthen and they open up more because you're pulling in that life energy. So it opens up and then it has this alignment now with each other instead of overlapping. So the spiritual and the scientific aspect of the breath, go hand in hand.
Jamar, I'm glad you asked that question because I was gonna ask you to ask that question because that's a really good question. And just like Stephen said, you have a physical response and then you also have an emotional response or like a spiritual response. And with the hip openers, for me, I knew how to inhale and then exhale as I breathed into, whichever part of the body that was tight. And what I found in going into deeper squats was there's like this level where you feel comfortable and then you're stuck. And that's your fear. And it's expressed as tension and tightness in that area. So when you allow yourself to keep your feet where they're supposed to be, inhale and then exhale as you sink deeper into the posture, you have to have some level of faith that process is going to work, that inhaling it into that tightness, that actually can translate into something that's physical and then something that's spiritual. And one of the things that I love to teach the squat, because a lot of people are tight in the hips, tight in the hamstrings, don't believe it. Posture, they be all hunched forward. You can address a few different things with that particular posture, but the main thing is the breath. It's always that. So when they're able to get deeper into their squat, then it's like, if I can do that in this, then this whole breathing into the XYZ posture thing must be real, right? Because that posture opens you up so much. Then when you can really sit in a squat, I feel like in a squat right now, I'm not going to do one. I feel like it though, because we're talking all about, connecting the breath or whatever. But when you get deep into that squat and you're peaceful in that, you feel it physically, you feel it physiologically, but you also feel it spiritually. So when you take the steps back and think about, how did I get here? How am I at the bottom of this squat? It's because you took the breath and you connected to the breath. When I would hear people say it's always the breath, it's the breath this, the breath that, I'm like, what does that even mean? But then when you experience it, you experience the breath physically first, partly because we live in a Western world and everything has to be something that you can touch in order for it to be real. So that's one main reason that people feel it physically first. Then you feel it, physiologically and spiritually. And so you are able to heal certain ailments through the breath. Some of that is tension. Some of that is bad posture. Some of that is a weakness, and you haven't learned to be balanced. I don't know if Jamar said it or Stephen, we're walking on the edges of our feet instead of flat. Oh, Stephen, you said it. And then you stand flat on your feet or squarely on your feet. The way you feel your body standing in its place is different. It's completely different. From there, you build stability. From that, we haven't done anything but stood still with weight evenly distributed on the feet, standing up with good posture, breathing. You ain't moved nowhere, but you've done a lot in that alignment. From there, after you have your stability, you build your endurance with the strength in terms of getting in different postures. And so that is how yoga heals the physical body. And that is how yoga and meditation heals the physical and spiritual bodies. And all of that, all of it starts with the breath. It connects to the breath. So to the brother who asked that question, that's kind of what this whole Tuesday talk is about. Partly, that's a major part of it. I don't know if Stephen texted you first, like, yo, ask this question so I can sound smart when I answer it. I don't know. But that was definitely a really good question, because that is how that is really kind of what yoga is. That's what meditation is. It's healing, it's spiritual, it's connecting with the breath, and in line with the day and age that we're living in right now, as Pan-African Black people, we're always under some kind of siege. But this is a little bit more intense, but it doesn't have to be. If you're able to connect with your breath and sit still and really reconnect, inward, on your breathing. And to the brother who asked that question, grab a space, sit comfortably, and breathe in through your nose. And as you continue to breathe, think about where you have that tightness, where you have that pain, and release into that part of your body. And do that for a week and see how you feel after that.
Yep.
So what
Indeed.
what do you recommend for somebody just starting out? Are there any um, any recommendations that you like, teachers or other than yourself? Who did you learn from? What is the best approach to getting started? Do you prefer online? Should it be in person? Groups versus by yourself?
Yeah. Only learn from me. That's it. I'm kidding. No, there's like a million. There's so many great teachers out there. I think especially if you want to learn more about Kemetic yoga, I believe on the KemeticYoga.com website, there's a directory of all the Kemetic yoga teachers around the country, I think in the globe, and they kind of tells you like who are the teachers that are near you. Um, but definitely, you could, if if you don't do that, you can start off by going online, and if you want to do something in person, just typing in Kemetic yoga teacher in your area. In terms of virtual, there's a lot of platforms. I know Yasir Rahotep, the yogaskills.com. He holds virtual classes. I believe month. I believe there's virtual classes monthly. Teacher training. Um, some teacher training. I think he did a kids teacher Kemetic yoga class as well. But yeah, there's plenty of I can't think of all of them right now at the top of my head, but there's plenty of like Kemetic yoga virtual classes to do. Also, you could go on YouTube and type of Kemetic yoga, and all the USEER videos and other instructors who have studied under USEER have some really easy to follow videos. Myself, I teach virtual classes via Zoom. And the link for that is located in my Instagram page, my link tree. And I also have a learning course that I put together, very easy to follow learning course on teachable.com. And that's also you could find on my link tree. And if you want, it's called Kemetic Yoga 101. And I also have another learning course on that same site where we have a better understanding. It's called Understanding Kemetic Yoga. And we learn about the symbols as well as the terminologies that we use in the Kemetic Yoga practice. Because, a lot of us are taught the Greek terminology, so I wanted to connect us more to the Kemetic terminology and their meaning as well as the symbols and their deeper meaning. But yeah, there's so many different avenues and places that you can go to get started on your Kemetic yoga practice or just on your yoga practice period. Like I said, it all starts with just taking time with your breath, and it all starts with just finding a nice, a comfortable space in your space or in nature, in your surrounding, and just start off by doing a few postures, start off by doing a few movements, and just taking time with yourself. Again, doesn't have to be long. Could be 10 minutes, could be 1 hour, 2 hours. Just being patient with yourself and giving yourself time to just really develop your physical practice as well as the breathing practice.
Awesome. I learned a lot today.
Those are hand claps.
Yeah, hand clap.
Help
so,
with those hand claps. That's right.
so how do we
Thank you, kind.
how do we reach you? Do you prefer them to reach you through your website or through your Instagram? What's the best way to reach you to get in contact with
You
you?
could reach you could reach me on my website, which is brownstonewellnessnyc.com. You can also reach me on Instagram, which is at Brownstone Wellness, and Facebook, Brownstone Wellness. Um, and yeah, those are the three platforms. You could reach me on either of those platforms. And let's connect, let's practice together, let's build together. Um, and yeah, trying to find other stuff to say, but yeah.
No doubt, no doubt. So much love, much myrrh. Once again, Tuesday talks. We had brother Stephen Rousseau, right? Is that how you spell it? Is that how you say it? Rather pronounce it, Rousseau.
Yes, Rousseau, yeah, it's French.
Stephen, yes, brother Stephen Russo, giving us that work, man, on Kemetic yoga. So
Hmm.
definitely take part in it. Also, our sister, also Abut Shabbat. I'm sorry, Abut Sashat also does her yoga classes. When do you do that, sister?
I have yoga classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday at moxie.xyz. It's at noon. You can find that in find me on Instagram at Yoga Girl Psy, and so it's yoga and then girl and then Psy SY. And I have you can find that in my link tree. I also do a meditation class every Monday at 5 p.m. Through the Shrine of Ma'at's Facebook page, and that's in my link tree too. So just find me on Instagram at Yoga Girl Sai.
So there you have it. You guys got no excuse. You guys can do yoga every day. You can do one every other day with two different teachers. You can have a male teacher and a female teacher, divine masculine and divine feminine. Get your balance on.
Right.
Get your ma'at on. Stop playing. Shrine of Once again, Tuesday Talks. We appreciate everybody for coming on. Normally we have this on Tuesday, but we aired today for whatever reason and wanted to go on today. So I guess it happened for a reason. So make sure y'all tune in tomorrow. Either way, you'll know that the Shrine of Ma'at is giving y'all that work every single day, Monday through Friday. So definitely tap in with us to see what we got available for you. We love y'all.
Peace, Hotep.
Peace and blessings to the family.
Hotapu.